Hello and welcome to another episode of Electric Myths, a new podcast brought to you by BMW. I'm your host, I'm Tommy. I review cars for a living, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Charlie, I'm a racing driver.
And today we are in this amazing iconic building, the BMW Welt, which in fact, I think I've counted about 7 i4s being collected today alone, which is amazing. We've been here for about an hour and that's a lot of numbers of cars. And also we're sat in an i4 itself, which is amazing, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful place to be. And
yes.
We might be doing a bit of carpool karaoke at some point on this
Absolutely
podcast.
Not. I haven't brought my voice for this one.
No.
Maybe in another episode.
Perhaps.
So in this episode, we're going to be looking at an electric myth, which is about the production of batteries and EVs in general. We talk about the materials used. We don't have enough of it. Mm-hmm. What's your experience of this?
I mean, I've got to be honest, I have heard some people say things like, there isn't enough lithium on the planet, there isn't enough access to these raw materials to make the batteries that we would all need if everyone in the world was going to drive an electric vehicle. I'm not a geologist. I don't know factually if that's correct. But also, as we're learning through this series, there's always more sides to this because, it's about how battery technology develops and whether we'll find other solutions for, how we power electric vehicles.
Absolutely. I think we should break it down in terms of, first instance, battery needs cobalt at the moment, lithium, and also nickel as well. So these components makes, what we need. These raw materials are needed to make the batteries that we use. And then we've got the other side of the car itself. It's not just the battery, it's the rest of it, the seats, the mats and stuff like that. And I think BMW at the moment are doing a great job at using recycled material. I think their 4 pillars are rethink, reuse, and what are the other 2?
Reduce.
And
recycle.
And recycle. So bringing all these 4 pillars together, they are doing a great job. In fact, things like your mats are used like PET, which is, recycled nylons and stuff like that, using them in a car to make sure that it's as carbon, lower the carbon footprint as much as possible. And then we're recycling things, which I think is a big progress. And then we go into the battery technology itself. There's lots of electric cars that we can recycle the batteries from over time as the future approaches, which means we can use those parts to actually put back into the batteries as we're using them.
Right, because that's got to be one of the most important things, is actually being able to recycle those components over time and having, embracing this kind of circular economy where I think you were saying am I right, something like 95% of battery material can be currently, recycled, reused, and put back into that closed loop system. Absolutely,
yeah. So we can recycle the lithium and the cobalt, the nickel. We can take all that out and on old batteries and put them back into the system. And the way technology is growing right now, it's moving so fast that the way it's been recycled is very, very smart and intelligent. So that's least of our concern. I think we're okay when it comes to this one. It's still got some great areas, but I think we have a lot of materials. And in fact, they're talking about other technology as well, taking out cobalt or some of the chemicals that's used in this and moving over to lithium phosphate LFP technology, which means the way it's been packed and the way it's been made is a lot better. So that's another way to look at it. Is science is moving so fast that alternatives have been looked into to make sure that we can reduce the need for all these raw materials.
So effectively we could actually, the battery chemistry we use at the moment for, I'm going to use it in simple terms, baking the cake.
Right.
We can actually throw in some different components, some different elements. Maybe it takes us in a different direction, but actually the example you gave me where they used, was it lithium phosphate?
Yes.
And this produces like a lower density battery, which basically means, it doesn't have as much range, as much capacity. But, this might be perfect for using in short range vehicles where they're recharging more frequently. So there's all different directions actually we can go in, rather than just saying, it's too difficult to get this particular mineral, therefore this is the scenario we have right now.
Absolutely. Talk about cakes. What's your favourite cake?
Black Forest Gateau, all day long. In fact, being as we're here in Munich, I might try and find one later.
What ingredient would you take out of that makes it? What would you recycle in there? How can we link this to our conversation here?
Well, what are the components in a Black Forest Gateau? You've got the sponge, the chocolate, the cream, and the cherries, and a bit of kirsch.
So if we take the cherry out, would you still eat it?
Yeah, I'd still eat a cake without a cherry on it.
Brilliant.
Another element here as well to mention is the Carbon Disclosure Project. So this is where BMW's been working with its suppliers to also, you know, try and work with suppliers who are doing their own thing to reduce their CO2 emissions, and therefore, you know, by doing that, I think we covered this in another episode. You know, it's how do we reduce the overall impact? It's not just what you're doing as a company. It's about all those second and third and fourth tier suppliers and doing that due diligence to make sure that they're doing everything they can do. You know, and just looking at that whole again, embracing that circular economy, that closed loop of making sure everybody's doing their thing to rethink, reuse, reduce and recycle. Yeah,
they were talking about like the recycle business, recycling batteries, is actually a big business which can result in social and ethical issues as well, you know. And BMW are doing their best that they can to make sure that doesn't affect, it's not something that affects the production of their EV. So people aren't affected, people aren't losing their livelihood and stuff like that just because they want to make battery technology, you know, which is something that's close to my heart. Again, I love that all that has been put into perspective. They're considering all this just to make sure this whole journey that we're on to make sure that we've got a better climate control. We're reaching that goal slowly but truly, but in a very ethical manner. Yeah,
like you say, there's so many different facets that we need to consider, and actually it is fascinating when you delve into all of these areas and how it all comes together. And of course, yeah, you know, the net result of that is that we're all moving towards a better future. You know, I think if we all try to, whether this is something you do as an individual or as an organization, you know, if you're inspired by a vision of the future that you want to create and the change you want to see, then, you know, we can all work towards achieving the kind of climate neutral goals we're headed for. Yeah, and I also love the collaborative element of EV technology in general, whereas, you know, BMW aren't putting their hands up and saying we're the only one doing this, or, you know, there are other brands and different people, manufacturers doing great things that BMW can borrow from. BMW can step in and say, actually, we want to help with that to make sure that your carbon footprint is as low as they can be, so that we can use that technology as well, because we're all aiming for the same goal at the end of the day, which I quite like about the whole EV economy and the way it's been made. So far, we have a lot of like positive elements to owning an EV or going EV, but there's still some grey areas that still needs improvement. That, you know, companies like BMW are working on and pumping a lot of money into research and development, and I think that's a really, really good way to look at it in terms of, yes, it's not all that perfect yet, but we're heading in the right direction, and that's a big takeaway from this one. Rather than trying to bust this myth, I think it's more enlightening us into this world of we're all on the same page, we're trying to reach the same goal, and we're getting there slowly but surely. I couldn't have put it better myself. Very succinct. Thank you. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and let us know what you think, actually. Let us know what you think. And if you've liked this one, make sure you like it, share it, and subscribe so you can see the rest of the videos. And whether you're watching it or if you're listening to audio, you can listen to the rest of it as well. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode.